Fantastic.
So much. This is going to work. There it goes. Hi, everybody. Joe Charnitski. I'm from Sprinklr. I know there's some Sprinklr customers here, and I've got to meet some today. It's great. For those of you who don't know, Sprinklr is the only unified customer experience management platform in the world. So it is for any part of your organization that touches the customer. So marketing campaigns, advertising, service, engagement, and most importantly, research to understand how to get to know them better, serve them better, make them happier. That works for customers or for fans. As we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the challenge, the opportunity of having a huge fan base and a very diverse fan base in the NFL. Before we do any of that, though, Marissa, great to see you. Great to do this with you today.
Great to see you. And hey, it's not lost on us that it's right before lunch. So I know you guys are probably starving. I promise this will be worthwhile. If you're over there having fun and talking, this is going to be a great conversation. So come join us.
We're going to keep the energy high, as you probably already picked up. So before we get into all of that, I happen to know from doing my proper research on my interview subject that you have a great story, personal and professional. And in case folks here don't know it, I would love to start with you sharing a little bit about that story, years at PepsiCo, how you end up now at the NFL. Tell us a little bit about all of that.
Wow. My story. So I was born in Mexico City. I came to this country at the age of 10. I grew up in South Texas, and through, many twists of fate, I ended up in PepsiCo. So lots of, Georgetown University. I did some politics. I did some fun things. I spent 18 amazing years at PepsiCo. And that was, I think, going to be my career. And then about a year ago, I got this call. It was like, hey, Marissa, would you like to come lead the global brand at the NFL? You get the call, you're like, wow, the NFL, okay, tell me more. And the edict was this. Tim Ellis, who is our CMO, is a wonderful person, and he's kind of on this journey to transform the league for our fans. And we call it future-proofing, right? When you think about the league 5 years ago, our fan base, the majority of our fan was probably 50 plus, middle America. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. They're amazing fans. But then you look at the demographic, progression of our country, what our country is going to look like, what it looks like today, what it's going to look like 5-10 years from now. Young, multicultural, women. And so the question is, how do you take this incredible, iconic 103-year-old brand and make sure that you can continue to engage and build the love and build a fandom amongst this next generation audience? So when that challenge was posed, I'm like, I'm in. I'm definitely going, because it is something that really speaks a lot to me, the things that I'm passionate about. And so it's been a great ride so far.
And I feel like this is a talk show where you're promoting your new movie, because we have a clip to go to. We have a video to show, an example of how you kicked off the season with those
How we
themes
kicked
in
off
mind.
the season. So we can show the clip, and I'll talk a little bit.
Here it comes.
About it.
Welcome to the 103rd season of the NFL! It's that time!
Let's kick things off! Let's go!
There's no fans like football fans! There's no game like this game! There ain't no time like it feels good to football!
I'm ready.
Go.
Right?
Feels good to football.
Let's hear it. Absolutely. So where do you want to start? The thought behind what you put together there. I know there's some special Easter eggs that someone here in the room probably saw. Talk to us about the creative process that made that your kickoff ad.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, as we transform the league, we want to make the league much more approachable, much more human and modern and fun. And so, one of the very first things we set out to do was what we call our helmets off strategy. Like, we literally want to take the helmets off our players, the helmets, so people can see what they're like as human beings, right? So if you saw that, there was no, there's no people bumping, there's no touchdown scoring, although that is really fun. But we wanted to kick off in a way only the NFL could, in a very inclusive way. So yes, there's over 20 influencers in that spot. So you probably don't recognize everybody, but it's funny because everyone I talk to, they'll recognize one little person. Obviously, Lil Wayne and Pusha T and Saweetie, but then, there's Frankie LaPena in there. If you're a big TikTok follower, the guy with the green screen. DJ Livia, she's the youngest Latinx, DJ, and she's on her way up. Ryan Garcia is a boxer. You've got, our players. Cam Jordan, that is helmets off. Them having a good time at the piano, riling up the audience. And by the way, if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, that's Justin Tucker. He's the kicker. Hook 'em horns. He's a longhorn. He is a real live opera singer. That is him, like, doing what he does off the field. And we really wanted to showcase that and make the league fun. That is part of our joy of football creative process to bring it to life.
And what we talked about was it's amazing to think about the modern media landscape where the number one TV show in the country gets a sliver of the audience the number one TV show in the country got years ago. Yet the NFL owns at least one day of the week. At least one day is on Sunday. A good percentage of the country
There's
what
Thursday
they're
night
doing.
football.
There sure is.
Night football. And
Absolutely.
Saturdays.
So you're there about a year. On the outside looking in, fan and working in the industry, I have my thoughts about that. But now on the inside looking out, what do you think the NFL has done right that has maintained that broad interest across such a diverse country?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, let's talk about the product, right? The game itself. I mean, I don't think it's ever been as exciting. Last season was the most exciting season, on record, and this one is shaping up to be just that. So the fact that you have 32 teams on any given Sunday, any one of those teams can be victorious. We added a week, so there's 18 weeks now. So at the end of that 18th week, any given team can still make the playoffs. Any given team can still win the whole thing. I think from a fan and a sports perspective, that's incredible. So the game itself, we've done a lot to make sure the game is accessible. So yes, our broadcast partners are incredible. You see, I think NBC Sunday Night Football has been number one for, I want to say 11 years in a row. So we continue to do that, but we're looking ahead to the future. Not everybody will be watching linear TV. It's very difficult to maintain especially our younger audience, for 4.5 hours. They have a little attention span. So this year, we did something incredible with Amazon and partnered with Amazon Prime. First time ever streaming platform, Thursday Night Football. I mean, incredible bet and an incredible risk, but it's paid off it's been amazing. I mean, the viewership we're getting on Thursday Night Football is the same, or better viewership that we were getting before. So it shows that, and it is a younger audience, and it's appealing to that. We just launched NFL Plus, again, making sure the game is at your fingertips, mobile. So there are a lot of things that we're doing from a technology and platform to make sure the game is accessible, and that it's snackable too, right? Because our younger audience, particularly Gen Z, likes that snackable content. So we're doing a lot of that. I want to give a shout out partnership with Nickelodeon. They're doing incredible things with young kids. Young Dylan has a show. They showcase the game, and you can see, guy catches the ball and is running through like hamburgers, and then he gets slimed when, he scores. And it's just a way to bring the game to life, to our younger audiences in a much different way. Manning cast, right? They're bringing the game to life. They're explaining the rules in a way that's fun, modern, engaging. So all of those things combined is hopefully, like, again, making the game approachable. And that's the joy of the game piece. We'll talk a little bit more about the other side, which is also very important.
I think the Nickelodeon folks are in this building upstairs.
Yes,
they heard
are.
you.
Yes,
they
are.
heard you say
And
that.
they're incredible partners.
I think the stat here I have is that 91 of the top 100 shows in a given year are...
They're NFL broadcasts.
Right.
Yes. 91 of the top 100 shows are football games.
Amazing. And so now expanding into streaming, great. So you touched on the focus on youth and sort of the next generation. Talk a little bit more about that. So that's not just sort of part of what you're doing. That's sort of the true north, it feels like, for a lot of the work the NFL is doing. You mentioned the Mannings. One of the pieces we're not going to show, so go and look it up after the session's over. You got the Manning brothers doing an ad sort of focused on kids and the next generation. Talk more about the work you're doing to focus on the future of the fan.
Yeah, it's so important that we engage young generations. And for us, participation is key in any sport. So we know that young fans are more likely to become avid sports fans before the age of 18 if they participate in the sport, right? Well, you think about a sport like football. How do we make football participation inclusive? So every kid, no matter your skill level, no matter your gender, no matter your age, your ethnicity, you can feel welcome to participate. So we are doing a lot around flag football. You're going to see a lot around flag football, and everywhere from, youth participation leagues, which the Mannings are, helping us to, really encourage participation in the sport, but all the way to hoping to be able to sanction it across the U.S. as a varsity sport. I think only 6 states in the U.S. today have it sanctioned as a varsity sport. And oh boy, would we love to see the sport become an Olympic sport. That's a dream that would be amazing. But we really believe the future of the sport will continue. Obviously, tackle is amazing, but flag will be a very important part because we want to be, again, an inclusive sport that everyone can participate in and then engage in, throughout your life and just enjoy it.
Love the Mannings. Of course, we're here in New York, so Eli especially, but love the Mannings. So you talk about anyone can participate in the game, no matter their gender. So let's talk about that for a minute. If I were to tell friends of mine I'm lucky enough to interview a senior executive at the NFL, they might not expect I'd be talking to you, but they'd be the one who are mistaken. Lots of senior leadership at the NFL is female. As a fan, I think about the NFL's focus on breast cancer awareness for years, for example, many other things. So, I mean, and again, the fan base is very diverse. So for those who may not know, talk more about sort of not just the NFL's focus on women, but the leadership perspective, the broad appeal, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, like anything, and I'm sure most organizations in the room, it's a journey, right? Diversity, both in representation at your leadership ranks and all throughout, is a journey. We want to represent our fan base of today, our fan base of the future. You'd be surprised. There are so many incredible women at the NFL. I think we were talking, backstage about we're actually doing a panel in a couple of days, and it'll be myself representing marketing, Kathy Yancey, who runs our broadcast partnership. So all the relationships with the Paramounts of the world and the Nickelodeons, she runs. And then obviously Tracy Rodberg, who runs all of our partnerships. She might be working with a lot of you in the room. Our chief revenue officer is a woman. Our chief, operations and human resources is a woman, and data officer. So we have women in the NFL, and we are all super passionate about the sport and super excited about making sure the sport is inclusive for everybody.
And that maybe is a good transition to one more clip we have from Marissa's upcoming movie. And this is about...
Wait, I need to introduce this one before you play it, because it's very different, and it's a different tone. I talked a little bit about, the joy of football, and you guys saw it. But it's so, so important. And really the big reason I came to the NFL to talk about the other side, which is how we transcend the sport. It is such a powerful platform, the NFL. Everybody knows it, everybody sees it. I feel we have an obligation to give back and be part of the community and get people riled up to give to the communities. And so the clip you're going to see is that other part of our strategy to communicate how we feel about giving back, about transcending the sport. And it comes from this notion that, you said it, on any given Sunday, on any given weekend, people see the NFL. People are watching the NFL. But in fact, it's the NFL family that sees the communities. We see what's happening in America, and we want to give back, and we want to create positive change. So that's the background behind this, and then we can play it and talk some more. But.
All right, I love it. Let's play it.
Every Sunday you watch us. But just so you know, we see you too. We see you in the Ninth Ward, in Liberty City. Our names on your back, our pictures on your walls.
We see you in Ybor City, in North Lawndale. The moms looking for a safe place to raise their kids.
We see you. We see you serving at home and abroad. The heroes who have risked their lives to protect ours.
Our son died just over a year ago, and the Rams doing all of this takes us away from that.
We see you in the hospitals and cancer wards. Those fighting every single day.
I heard you're a huge Chiefs fan, man.
We see you, because your challenges are our challenges. Your neighborhoods are our neighborhoods.
Your fight is our fight.
To be out here in the community, give some hope, share some grief. That's how we're gonna get past this.
The whole world watches us. But now, they're gonna see you too.
So you sort of set it up, but again, take us back a little bit behind the scenes into the creation of this. We talked a little around the cause work that the NFL does that they don't put forward. They do the work. They don't talk about it as much, which is frankly the reverse of a lot of organizations. So talk to us about that and about kind of what went behind that campaign.
Yeah, for sure. And, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize our partners behind us, 72 and Sunny, who partnered to create this. It's really, it's tough because the NFL does so much. It's such a big platform. It does so much for every single community, but you don't want to brag about that, right? That's not something you don't want to shout, hey, we're the NFL and look at what we do. And yet we need to raise awareness of what's happening in our communities, what they are up against, because you saw it. It's everything from, cancer and cancer awareness and screening to saluting our veterans to economic, equality and education and social. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And we really wanted to do something to make sure people knew, don't just watch the game and enjoy the game, join us. It does take all of us to make a difference. And if we can just share that message, like we do recognize what is happening. We want the community to get up and with us together, make a difference, whether it's by donating your dollars, your time, creating efforts to give some hope to underserved communities that are out there. That was what, we set out to do. And you'll see a lot more as we get into the specifics. We just had very similar spot talking about cancer awareness with John Mechie. He is from the Texans. He is a survivor of leukemia. So he is sharing his story. And we're going to share stories around veterans. In November, we have My Cause, My Cleats, which is one of my favorite platforms where every player chooses their own cause. They wear their cause on their cleats during the games, just to raise awareness. And again, this notion that it takes all of us to make a change.
It takes all of us. You've said that the NFL is a unifier in the country. Brings in my ear. I said we're unified, customer experience at Sprinklr. So I hear that, and it immediately pops into my head, and I think that's right. And again, you've got this broad audience like no other brand. So that makes sense. So you just talked about the players sort of being more vulnerable about what's going on with them, showing you're taking off the helmets. I have a quote from you, which I had to write down to make sure I got it right. It resonates with me so much. You said, in speaking about your job as a marketer, we've got to tap into humanity's diverse nature and be authentic, telling real stories. And that's what comes out for me when I look at that piece and hear you talk about it. So for everybody in the room and everybody watching, talk more about authenticity and about how that is so crucial, particularly when you put out a spot like that, and how you think about authenticity in your work.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a hot word, right? Everybody uses it. It's kind of trendy now, which is ironic. But really, it is about showing the real human nature of any brand, any organization, and being real, right? Telling the real stories, being vulnerable, being humble. I think humility is a huge piece, for me. And growing up and in my story, in the back of my head is my parents always saying, no matter where you are and what you do, don't forget where you come from, how you got there, the people that got you there. And I think it's that, bringing that to the forefront of our advertising, whether you're a massive brand, like the NFL, or you're a brand like Doritos or Cheetos, you've got to tell the real stories behind, your fans, behind your consumer, because people want to be recognized. Everybody just wants to be seen, right? And be felt and be heard. And so if you do that through the advertising, in a real way, I think that it can be very powerful, and move people not just to buy. Of course, we're all, that's the nature of the business, but hopefully to act, and to change the world, make it a better place.
People never forget how you make them feel.
That is absolutely right.
Right. So, you talked about sort of authenticity is becoming like a trendy word, and maybe it loses some meaning. Certainly, we hear a lot about diversity and inclusion these days, and it's on everybody's website, and you hope it's truly their mission. I don't know if I've heard anyone separate those two words in the important way that they need to be separated, as well as you have. So if you could talk a little bit about, from your point of view, the difference you see between diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the D&I journey along with many people in this room for many years, and there is a significant difference. You have to have the D, right? That's the diversity, the representation. You want to see many different, creeds, colors, opinions in a room, but that is not enough. The I is critical. And I think that's the piece we still need some work on, because the I is about inclusivity. It's not enough to have the people in the room. The people need to feel welcome. They need to feel heard. They need to feel like their opinion matters and counts and makes a difference. And making people feel welcome is very different than just inviting them in the room. Right? You've got to pull the chair out for them. You've got to, serve up. It's like a host. You got to serve up the food and make them feel comfortable and have the conversation. And that is inclusion in my mind. And we still have a lot of work to do to get to a place where we all feel that way. But, I think we're on the right path. Hopefully as, not just as an organization in the NFL, but in your organizations and in our country, we need to be cognizant of being inclusive and just welcoming others, and opening your arms, right?
I love that. So you've got this, and a little bit of your story too was about sort of being in the room as a young female in the CPG space, but not being as respected in the room as your male colleagues. And that was something I remember reading, you talk about very early on. So let's go back to that CPG world for a minute. When we got to meet so we could prepare for today, I said, I have a hot take, Marissa, which is that CPG world and organized professional sports, very similar, because you've got the big brand and you have all these sub-brands. And you immediately corrected me and have helped me see a different point of view on that. So you've got experience in both. Tell us the most important differences in your experience between being a CPG executive and an NFL executive.
Yeah, I did have a reaction. I was like, they're totally different. No, I think you made me see as a marketer, you always want to connect with people, make them feel good, elevate the brand. So in that sense, they are similar. And that's it, right? Because, I think we talked about in CPG, I felt that I had, as a brand leader, real control of my product. I mean, I had an R&D team that I could call and say, hey, I want this flavor and I want the packaging to look like this. And I want the experience to be this. I had control. You do not have control in a sports league of your product. I cannot control what a team may do. I cannot control what an owner, a player, I cannot control that. What I can control is making sure that the platform and the messages that we put forth move people to act, right? And so that's a big difference, is that, our product is somewhat and sometimes intangible, right? And you've got to, make sure people continue to engage with it and try to shape it and change it and make it, special, even though you don't have full control. So that is a big difference between the two, I see.
One question we didn't talk about in advance, but I'm thinking about as I'm hearing you, and again, for the benefit of everybody who's listening. So you said 18 years at PepsiCo, you thought that was the path. This opportunity shows up, guts to take that risk and to make this move. Talk about that from your experience and about having to, you said, you can't say no. Well, you could have been very comfortable and said, no, this is my path. You didn't. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, all of us in the room as leaders, and as you think about your career, there comes a moment where, for me, it was about my values and what I believe and my mission and what I want to accomplish. And to me, this was an opportunity. You could look at it very practically from a career perspective and say, wait, are you going to give up like 18 years and, everything and super comfortable and you already know where you're going and try something new like this late in your career? Or, is this an opportunity to have a platform to speak about the things that are important to you? And that's how I saw it. Wow, what an incredible opportunity to transform, to future-proof, to reach an audience that, I happen to be part of and that I'm very passionate about. I just, you can't give that up, right? At the end of the day, our jobs should be a reflection of our passions, right? If you do your passion every day, you don't work a day in your life. And that's how I feel about, the NFL. Plus, the football and Super Bowl, all that is not bad. But it truly is, to me, not about just career. It is about impact. And that's what got me here.
Well, I'm pretty sure we're all very happy that you did that based on this conversation today and the work you're doing. Marissa Solis, everybody, from the NFL.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.